Hi, is this Kamaree?
This is.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you. My name's Macy, and I'm really
Yeah,
excited about this.
of course.
Awesome. Well, just a little bit of information. So this is for the Julian Bond Oral History Project at American University, where I go to school. So it's just going to be typed up and used for like academic purposes. Um, and the project is aimed at understanding like history and racial justice through the lens of just interviewing people. So that's the purpose of my interview today.
Okay.
Awesome.
Sounds good to me.
So can you just tell me where you were born and when you were born and where, and just kind of how you grew up?
I was born in Moultrie, Georgia, but then my mom moved us up here when I was a baby, and I was raised um, down there and up here for about 5 years until I was raised strictly in Burnsville, Minnesota. With just my mom. Well, my mom raised me pretty much independently, but she's a single mother. Yeah, my mother's a single mother. I was pretty much raised by my uncle as well because since my mom she worked two jobs and went to school, and so I was kind of raised by my uncle who also helped raise me and my other uncle.
Awesome. Do you have any siblings?
Not from my mother. I have three brothers that I am not familiar with on my dad's side.
And yeah, so it was your mom and your uncle and your siblings was like your main family.
Pretty much. There's five of us up here.
Awesome. And did you like living in Minnesota? Like, did you have a good childhood or?
I like it now. I hated it when I was younger.
Fair enough.
But my childhood was definitely a rough one.
Mm-hmm.
But that was I've been through a lot of hardship and a lot of trauma, and I think that's what. But I've grown from it, and now I'm trying to process through all of it.
Definitely. Do you mind describing any of that? And you don't have to, but.
I've been a victim of sexual abuse. I've been raped. I've been assaulted. I've been in an emotionally torturous relationship. It's been a lot, and like a lot of that started when the abuse started when I was in the third grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, like, the third grade, fifth grade, I was raped when I was in high school. I've been raped outside of school, so, like, yeah, it's just been...
Mm-hmm. Sounds difficult.
crazy, yeah.
And did you have any, like, role models growing up? Or any people that you really looked up to?
I would say, gosh, I don't know if there was anybody that I tried to like model my life after. I think people that really like inspired me was my uncle, because he just seemed a lot cooler and calm and collected, because I was such a hothead when I was younger. That my uncle seemed like he was the only one in my family that has his life together, because my mother and my grandmother are alcoholics, and at that time they all
Oh, okay.
It was all bad. So I guess my uncle was pretty much the only person that I kind of looked up to and wanted to emulate.
Awesome. And did you start becoming interested in drag? Was that something that was like early on in life, or was that more like a later on in life revelation?
That was later on in life, actually. I didn't start becoming interested in drag. I've been doing it for 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm still fairly new.
Yeah.
But, it was about 5 years ago that I actually got into it, but I wasn't interested in it until about, I would say, 6 years ago.
Okay. And what prompted your interest?
I was dating somebody that that did their drag show, show for college, and I wasn't. Before that, I was very against it. But since they were doing their drag show for college, I was like, I'll be a supportive partner, and I'll be in drag with you.
Then you got sucked in.
I got sucked in my first performance with that was actually when I met my drag mother.
Okay, who's your drag mother?
My Prada Diamond.
Oh yeah, I've seen her before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my drag mother. So I met her then, and she told me about the Wednesday night competitions at the 90s, and at that time I was 20, so I didn't want to start that. But once I turned 21, that's when I was like, okay, well maybe I can try this out. I like it.
Awesome. Did you have any jobs before you started drag?
Oh, everywhere. I worked at Nordstrom Rack. I worked at Macy's in the shoe department.
Nice.
Nordstrom Rack and Macy's. And the Nordstrom Rack was in the women's department.
Mm-hmm.
Macy's was in the shoe department. I was an overnight manager at McDonald's. I worked at Super America. Domino. I was a delivery driver at Domino's.
Did you like any of those, or were they all kind of the same?
Hate them. The only one I was cool with was McDonald's, which is ironic, but yes, I was.
Fair enough.
I just Nordstrom Rack because I got a discount and I love to shop. That was my first name.
That's why my mom worked at Macy's too. She worked there when she was getting married, so she could buy cheap invitations and flowers and clothes and.
Yep. And actually, Nordstrom Rack was when I was working at Nordstrom Rack, I was able to get insurance through them.
Oh, that's great.
And that's where I started. At that job is when I started my transition.
Oh, okay. And they covered your transition.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not all of it because it's still costly.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was where I started.
Awesome. And so with your job, so you work for Lush now, correct?
Yeah.
And do they help cover that? Is there like health insurance through like clubs and stuff, or is that something that you have to cover on your own?
No, because I'm still an independent contractor.
Got you.
And so I'm a cast member at Lush, but I still am a cast member also at the 90s. Like I'm full time at Lush, but I'm a part time, like kind of anywhere else. It's pretty much like your full time job, but then you have your part time.
Yeah.
Places that you can go to.
Do you like working there? Do you think it's like a better place to work, or are you kind of on the hunt for something else?
I do. I love working at Lush. We're actually doing a lot more development and expanding. And I've been able to grow as an entertainer there. I host the shows there. I host the Thursday night show with Bad Karma, and then I host the Saturday night headlining show with not Karma, but Crystal and or Victoria. But they've given me like a residency, which is nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you like the people you work with?
I do. It's hard because you have to get used to a bunch of different personalities, and I'm aggressive by nature, and I can't. You have to figure out how to maneuver through people without like hurting and like really damaging yourself and or somebody else and getting like a bad reputation. So like I like that.
Is there a lot of like drama or is
I feel like with anywhere it's drama.
Oh, definitely true.
I feel like, but in the entertainment industry, it's definitely a lot of drama. But I wouldn't even say it's between the cast members. I would just say as the community in the whole.
Okay, yeah. Do you find your work fulfilling, and like, do you think Minneapolis, like particularly, is a good place to be involved in drag?
Yes, actually, I've done because I've done national pageants and I've been on tour. And yeah, I've traveled throughout. So like I've worked other places and I've seen other people's drag, and I've really like that's what I think that's kind of sold me on Minnesota. Like after I traveled, then I was like, yeah, there's not really anywhere else that I would prefer to be with the level of drag that we have here because we have such a standard.
Definitely, yeah.
And I feel like we're close. Because I've been down to Texas. I've worked in Texas. I judged one of their state preliminary, and people are like, you have a very Texas style, but you're not from here. And like Texas drag is something that's taken incredibly seriously.
Yeah.
The fact that they even compared Minnesota drag to Texas drag to be the same, I'm like, thank you.
Definitely a compliment.
Like everybody kind of forgets about Minnesota, but baby, we have good shit here.
Yeah, I totally agree. And back to the pageants. What was your experience with pageants? Like, do you think they're a good way to like be a performer, or do you think it's more rewarding to just be in like the club scene?
I feel like it depends on you as an individual. Pageants for me are extreme, like quick education.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like they help you grow as an entertainer and also help you grow in yourself, because I've learned so much about myself from doing pageantry that I don't know how I would feel if I didn't. But I know that there are a lot of entertainers that are not a fan of like the competition aspect and how much you actually do spend on pageantry.
Is it expensive?
It gets expensive.
When you would say you traveled across the country, was it like where are like the biggest pageant scenes in the U.S.?
For me, I did not USA Newcomer,
mm-hmm.
and that's based in Texas, so their nationals is in Texas. But
okay.
I went to Michigan to compete. I went with Karma also we went to Missouri. I performed in. I didn't compete in Oklahoma, but I performed in Oklahoma. All over Texas.
Awesome.
Wisconsin. Yeah.
Awesome.
North Dakota, South Dakota, all of them.
Awesome. You must have learned a lot from that.
It's good to see other people. It's good to see other people and like just really be able to like absorb.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of figure out what's going on in the world.
Yeah, and
what I can do.
Okay, so do you think that drag is political, or do you think it's like a way to escape the real world? Like, I don't know. Like, I've talked a little bit about this with my friends because this is something we're really interested in and something we talk about a lot. And there's kind of an interesting debate between people who think like drag is like a political act and others who think it's like no, it's just like regular life and like I don't want politics involved with drag. Like, what is your opinion on that?
It's both. Because drag started off very political. And so I feel like there are a lot of entertainers that use it as a political stance, and there are a lot of entertainers that use it as a freedom. I use my kind of art form as a freedom and kind of just self-expression. I know there are a lot of other entertainers that use it as education and to really get the message out there, because usually when you are an entertainer and you have a little more ground to like stand on, your voice is able to be heard more. And if you have that voice, you should use that voice to educate and inform. And there are a lot of entertainers that do that.
Definitely.
I'm just not one of them because I've never been super political. I've never been a super political type of girl or really involved in any of that.
Yeah, I mean, well, on social media, you talk a lot about being like a trans woman and like a black woman. Like, do you think that affects like how you do drag, or do you think that affects how others see you as a drag queen? I
I feel like it's difficult because like for like trans women and like drag, it always gets so oddly blurred. I feel like sometimes,
Definitely.
but I feel like people do see. I feel like people see me differently. I just don't know how they see me. I guess. I guess I don't. Yeah, I don't know how to. But I also don't try to focus so much and try to analyze how people see me. I just kind of let my art speak for itself, and then if you appreciate it, you appreciate it. If you don't, you don't, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think that it affects like your relationship with your castmates? Like, have you ever had any like bad experiences with that, or have people been more understanding?
I've been with my trans identity, or just bad experiences with them in general.
Either, whatever.
No, with trans identity, no. Everybody's extremely supportive because we're all a part under the queer umbrella. So like we know the hardships and difficulties of life.
Definitely.
But with like in general, yes, we have been combative. There's a lot of strong personalities, and everybody wants to prove a point usually, or make sure they're heard. So of course there's conflict, but as people that work with each other, like on a weekly basis, you kind of tend to get over it because you the show must go on.
Oh yeah.
And there are times like after you blow up, you usually like take a minute and then you sit and you talk back again, and you're like, okay, I still hate you for this moment, but we're good now.
Definitely. And about being trans, do you mind opening up about kind of your like coming out experience? Like, was that like when did that kind of start for you?
I came out actually because drag actually helped me really bring it full circle. I knew because I've always known, but like once I started entertaining, I really felt comfortable in my skin. And like I finally heard the name that I wanted to like hear and like can identify with and all of that. And so I just feel like once I got a taste of that, it was easier for me to really start to develop into the individual that I am. And I feel like drag definitely helped open that door.
Definitely.
I can't remember if I answered the question correctly.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's a good answer. Do you think there are any challenges that you face as a Black trans woman that other like white trans women don't face, or do you think it's kind of all the same experience?
We all face challenges. I think being a Black trans woman is harder. However, I just feel like being Black in general is harder.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of if you have your trans identity or not, but I do feel like it amplifies the harder kind of life role, because even before that, being Black and gay was horrible, and now being trans and Black, it's not easy. So like, I don't know. I've always felt like white people have tendency to have it easier. Not saying like their life isn't still hard.
Yeah, it makes sense though.
Challenges.
Definitely. Do you have any like advice for someone like who's like you or someone who wants to get involved with like the drag industry? Like, is there anything that you wish you would have known?
Wish I would have known. I guess I wish I would. I guess I wish I would have known that if I wanted to take this seriously as a career, that you spend way much more money than you get back initially.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to just kind of keep your head down, keep it consistent, and make sure you are aware of your passion and your dream and what your goal is. Because there are a lot of challenges in this career that will take you from that, and a lot of distractions, but you have to just stay focused and on the path of what you are planning.
Yeah, and do you have any goals with that in mind?
become like legendary in my own right. I'm very I guess if I drag role models, my drag role models are like Tommy Ross, Sasha Colby, and LaWanda Jackson. Like those are the people that I want to be like or emulate, along with like my mother.
Mhm. Awesome.
So I feel like those are my kind of things. Like those are my things that I want to aspire and keep going.
Awesome. And then another like philosophical question. Do you think that drag performers in Minneapolis contribute more of like a cultural contribution to the city or like a social justice contribution? And like
I
why
would
do you think
say
it's
both.
valuable?
I would say both because there's so many entertainers from different backgrounds. Like if you look at like Mercedes, she's Muslim. There's
Mhm.
Bibi Zahara-Benet, who is also from Cameroon.
Right.
There are multitude of Asian. There's like 3 or 4 Asian queens. There's just so many queens from different lifestyles, and I know, or like everybody from different paths. So I feel like there's so much knowledge and so many backgrounds that you can learn from and kind of take experiences from. Because everybody has a different story, and I feel like everybody's story is important. And as entertainers, we're able to share our stories, and so that's what we can do, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And then do you have any like final like comments or points to add? Like this interview again, it's going to be used in like a classroom, so if there's anything like I don't know, if there's anything that you think we should know that's really important.
I would say that drag and being trans are two completely separate things. And it has nothing, like, your trans identity has nothing to do with your drag identity, and not all drag entertainers are or want to be trans. It's just an expression of the art, an expression of your passion, I guess, if that's what it is. I think that's what I want to leave it with.
Awesome.
I'm usually so much better at this whole interview process. I apologize.
No worries.